Welcome to Talking Tech, Season 2. Yes, that's right. The wait is finally over. Talking Tech, of course, is our web series where we talk with Hillsborough teachers, and today's special guest, a director, about their experience with virtual teaching and now hybrid teaching and learning. I'm Todd McDonald, the Technology Integration Coordinator, and I'm here today with Joel Handler, the Director of Technology. Joel, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you, Todd, for having me on.
So we've never really anticipated the amount of technology that's being in use right now. Everyone's using it in some form or another. So we just sent out our survey to staff about their technology needs, and we're hoping that we already have some great responses. We're hoping we get some more so we can, continue to help support some of the needs that are out there. So today, Joel, I just have a couple questions for you that have come up, and I think it'd be great to have your expertise and you could explain some of the things that are going on.
Sounds great.
Do you remember when we were kids, the show, the Mr. Wizard show, where you'd ask Mr. Wizard?
Yeah.
So basically today, you're Mr. Wizard. This is like the Mr. Wizard mailbag.
Wow, the pressure's on.
Yeah, right. So first question I have here that's come up a few times is, why are so many students having problems with Google Meet when they are at home?
So there's a couple things there. So we don't know what their environment is like at home, their Wi-Fi environment. It could be that they have several relatives all at home, all trying to use their Wi-Fi at the same time. So that can cause issues. It could be that there's other kinds of strange interference in their house. So we don't necessarily know and how to troubleshoot each person's individual home unit. A lot of times in those cases, working with Comcast, you can definitely figure out what their Wi-Fi issue is. However, in terms of the Google Meet itself, we definitely get reports of, hey, students kicked off the Meet because they had a weak signal or they couldn't, and then they come back on or their video kind of goes out, comes back in. A lot of times that happens because the students' Chromebooks aren't designed as really powerful machines, right? They're low-end, cost-effective devices that can help them, be very productive. However, they're not like a teacher's machine where you can have 5, 8, 10 windows potentially open and doing multiple things. Chromebooks are really designed to doing 1, maybe 2 tasks at a time. And video conferencing is really intensive on the computer. So if they are doing a video conference, it's recommended that the student doesn't have open more than maybe 1, maybe a second tab. But after that, definitely shutting down all their other tabs. And teachers can kind of see that if they look in their Power dashboard, they can say, wait, why does Todd have like 6 or 7 other tabs? Maybe he's left things open from his other classes. And that's definitely going to interfere with their ability to be on the Google Meet.
I know I've also I work with one family where they had one child having issues and the other one wasn't. What we think it was is that one of the classes that they were in, the teacher was streaming a tab every single time they were doing a lesson. Other class was just doing a regular hangout without sharing a tab. So we also, in those cases, I recommend the teachers only share a tab when you have to share audio with it. Otherwise, just share the window because that seems to be a little bit less processor and data intensive.
Yeah, the sharing a tab is great if you need to share audio and video, but it is a higher definition sharing mechanism that Google introduced so that you could share video in real time and audio. But if you're not doing that, you're right, Todd, in that it will be much more labor intensive on the computer to try to share a tab versus just sharing a window. So
yeah,
that can definitely help.
All right. Sometimes my speakers and microphone are working totally fine. Then I start a new Google Meet with the students and they can't hear me.
So there's a couple of different things and they all kind of merge together. So one thing is if your environment's changing between sessions. So if a teacher is docked and then undock, that's going to be a different environment. If you dock and undock into a different room or a different dock and you're doing your second session, it's going to be different. Also, teachers need to look, there's the Windows audio settings. So if you go down to the bottom right corner, there's the little speaker icon. And then when you click on that, it can tell you where your output's going. As well as within the Google Meet itself, if you go to settings, there's audio settings. So yeah, if you go into the settings, you can adjust where the audio input is. So sometimes, like I've noticed sometimes when I dock on one, it'll pick up a USB microphone input. And I'm like, but I'm not using that. I want to use the built-in microphone. So sometimes you have to go into Meet to kind of change that. Another thing we found too was over time running Chrome, it starts to become very resource intensive, and this is a known issue with Chrome. So it is recommended that, I wouldn't say necessarily after every meet, but definitely throughout the day. You might even want to just shut Chrome off and then reopen it. And that kind of resets it kind of back to like, ground zero, so that as it's kind of running and building up and using more and more memory, shutting it off kind of resets that. And that definitely has helped some teachers we know.
That does seem to be a quick fix, and for many things. Again, it's the old, like, have you tried turning it off and on again? It's roughly the same idea with the browser. It's running a little slow. Let's try closing it and reopening it, and look at that. It's working better now. So hopefully that will clarify that.
And another thing to note too, sometimes we've had a lot of teachers who they just close their lid and go home in the afternoon, open the computer back up, continue working. It's definitely recommended you restart your computer, at least once a day. Don't just close the lid, open it back up, close the lid, open back up from day to day to day. It doesn't kind of reset the computer, kind of going back to, like I said, ground zero where it wants to start. And one last tip, make sure you're also running those Windows updates, because what we found is a lot of times, if you don't have the latest Windows update, other things stop working that don't even seem related. But once you do the updates, everything's working great again. So
and they could do that. On the desktop, we have the light bulb icon that's there. So they can just double click that and run the updates from there. They will tell you what's critical. And they should do that. Yeah, that makes sense. And if there's one that's critical, we usually will send out a message from the tech team that says, this is a critical one you must do right away. And often those will start to run on their own. So you're better to do them yourself rather than wait for it to update in the middle of possibly a class. So
right.
It's better to be proactive with your updates than to wait for us to say, go update now. And the last question I have here is, what should I do if one of my students who's at home is having a technical issue?
So there's several different ways. So if they're in the upper grade schools, if it's a virtual student, the best thing to do is have them go to the Tech at Home site, which is right on our website. And from there, there's a tech support request where there's a form, they fill that out, and one of our technicians will be reaching right out to the family, kind of coordinating what the issue might be. It may get relayed to the computer support teacher if it's something more of a software related type of issue, they're trying to do something. If they're a hybrid student, definitely send the student down to see their tech hub, their computer support teacher at the tech hub at each of the buildings. They can definitely help them there if they're physically coming into the building. And then at the elementary school, if there's a student who's having any kind of technical issue, reach out to your computer support teacher and let them know who the student is and what problems they're having, and that computer support teacher will be able to help you there. So.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Joel. Also curious, bonus question here. If you could have one superpower, what would it be?
Being able to duplicate myself so I can be in more places to help more people at the same time. I think that's what I would do.
Yeah. More Joels is what you need.
More Joels running around this district to help everybody.
That's what we all want. We all want more Joels. All right. Joel, thank you so much. Any final thoughts?
I do want to kind of remind everybody the amazing work that we're doing. Think about where we were a year ago in terms of our technology use, and we were one of the leading districts. We definitely have technical issues. We definitely have, our share of problems. But at the same time, as you keep things in perspective, the amount of learning that's happening, in these strange times, it's phenomenal. It really is, a compliment to all the staff and teachers in this district, everyone who's involved in the learning of our students. The amount of how far we've come with technology in such a short period of time, it's phenomenal.
Yeah, it's amazing. We're very happy to launch Talking Tech Season 2 with Director of Technology, Joel Handler. Thanks again, Joel, and I'm sure I'll see you in about 5 minutes.
Hey, Dad.
Thanks.